Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for everyone who's able to join tonight and those who are also watching our recordings. You may notice my handsome husband next to me today, who of course is always supporting these conditions, but he told me last night that God told him he should show up on screen. So he's always there in the background, but here he is tonight on screen. Thanks, honey. Love you. And yeah, I just wanted to share today, we had several neighbors over at our house. We had a big party, and something we've been talking about is making our home a place that people can come into, and feel loved and welcomed, which is kind of different from how I've thought of it in the past. So I think we're making a big effort to reach out to people and welcome them, right? And I think that lines up very well with these 40 days that we're in, and particularly these 21-day condition. So I will go ahead and share my screen. And we're continuing from the reading from yesterday. It's actually the section that comes right afterwards from Mother of Peace, the marriage supper of the Lamb. And so, yeah, just to frame it, we're reading about, Mother's story behind preparing for the blessing and her experience, her attitude about what's happening there. This is a story that we didn't really know about until we had Mother's memoir. So it's really such a gift. So she says, my mother and I arrived at the Chunpodong Church. It was February 26, 1960, a day when winter was withdrawing and spring was signaling its advent. Father Moon met with my mother and me all day in order to come to a conclusion about the Heavenly Bride. He and I talked about many things over the course of 9 hours. At his request, I drew him a picture. I spoke clearly as I answered his questions about my hopes and aspirations. Remembering how Jacob received God's blessing at Bethel, I happily, yet seriously said to him, I will bear many heavenly children. What God told Jacob at Bethel came into my mind, and thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. And in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. I determined that I would engraft unto our couple all of humankind in heaven and on earth, making them into God's good children. When Isaac went up Mount Moriah with Abraham to offer a sacrifice, he asked his father where the offering was. Abraham answered that God had prepared a sacrifice and said nothing more. With that, Isaac, even at his young age, could understand the situation and realize that he was the sacrifice to be offered to heaven. Just as Isaac obediently lay upon the altar, I knew that God had prepared me as the heavenly bride, and that this was God's predestined providence. I had no questions or doubt in my heart. I had only the desire to keep going on the path. I accepted God's command in a state of complete selflessness. Yeah, so this reading, I think makes me feel a little bit somber, actually, when I read it, just to hear the comparisons that Mother is making about what it meant to become the only begotten daughter. And it's very different from, I think, maybe our image. Of course, we knew it was difficult, and of course, we know public life is difficult, but here she's comparing her experience to what it was like for Isaac to go up the mountain and realize actually he was the sacrifice, right? He asks his dad, where's the sacrifice? And he says, God prepared one, and leaves it at that. And because he's old enough and mature enough, he understands, oh, maybe I'm the sacrifice. And so she's comparing that story to True Mother accepting the responsibility of being the only begotten daughter. And yeah, it's painful to kind of feel that. And I think True Mother carried that burden very silently. I don't think people realized it and understood. And as we've been talking about the last few days, that there was so much opinion and different kind of energy surrounding this, right? Many people wanted to be the wife, and there were many different suggestions for who could marry True Father. And here's this young girl, it just didn't make sense. And people looked down on her and didn't think she was good enough for it. And that's like one piece of it, right? That even just that aspect was a sacrificial experience for Mother. But I feel like when I read this, she's kind of looking at her whole course as the only begotten daughter, that she went in willingly, knowing that people wouldn't understand her, that people wouldn't understand the significance of who she was as the only begotten daughter, and that actually her role at this time in providence was central to fulfilling the providence. She's not just, the wife of the Messiah, but she's the last piece of the providence that Heavenly Parent has been waiting for, as we read the day before, that Heavenly Parent was waiting for the Mother of Peace, this final step. And only Mother understood that. Only True Mother really understood the significance of that. And so she kind of walked through this course silently and sacrificially because she had made this promise with heaven. And the section before, when she talks about what God told Jacob at Bethel. And actually, I've read this section a million times, and I never really researched what happened at Bethel with Jacob and what that meant. I have like a vague recollection of it, right? But I'm trying to get into the habit that every word from our True Mother, every sentence is very meaningful. There's a reason why she says what she says. And it's not about rushing through and reading as much of Mother's words as we can, but it's like looking sentence by sentence. What is True Mother trying to say? Why does she say this? And when I looked up this passage in the Bible, it's interesting. The timeline of it comes right after Jacob steals the blessing from Esau. And Rebecca says to Jacob, you have to leave right away. You have to go to Haran because your brother wants to murder you now because you stole his blessing. And that's what he's leaving with. He's fleeing his family. He's running away. He has no idea what's going on. We know that he spends 21 years of labor struggling for the next 21 years, right, to receive the kind of the resources and the wife that he wants to marry. But he has a dream in Bethel where God shows him the promise of the future, and that through Jacob, all this heaven seeds will be planted through his descendants. And so he wakes up and he says, wow, God is here. Maybe he was feeling like, what did I just do? And what's my future going to be? My brother wants to murder me here, but God gives him this glimpse of hope. And so why is Mother mentioning this, right? That maybe Mother is also resonating with this feeling of there's so much difficulty and challenge around me, but God has given me the vision of where I'm heading. And even though it's painful and lonely and difficult, that I'm going to persevere because I know this vision of where I'm heading. So yeah, I want to encourage us to really look, why does Mother say certain things? Why is this section included here? If you don't understand, really think and pray over it. And perhaps there's this pearl of wisdom that is waiting for you to be discovered to understand Mother's heart even more. So I'm going to pass it over to our Subregion 3 ladies who are featured today. We're going to start with our Subregion 3 coordinator, Grace Kisile, to share her reflections from this reading.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, kind of my thought process, reading through this earlier too, was very similar to Kaylee's. Kind of, yeah. I think same. It's kind of like when I've read Mother's memoir in the past, these references, she references certain key figures from the Old Testament quite a bit. And yeah, it's one thing to note that, but then it's another thing to ask, well, what's so significant about those people. And yeah, like what was coming up for me, it was like this weird juxtaposition, kind of like what you were talking about, Kaylee. Like I think the first thing I was thinking of or like praying on was like really like the unfortunate circumstance that was Isaac's situation, right? Kind of he was the sacrifice, he was a willing sacrifice, but he was a sacrifice because his father wasn't able to accomplish something. And yet he doesn't accuse his father. He willingly, out of that filial heart, or some, out of that heart, he accepts what has to happen. And in so doing, we know that like through what we've been taught by Father many times too, it's like it's actually Isaac, that situation is Isaac's victory. I remember being really blown away when I learned that in like, I don't know, some DP course or something in the past how many years. But there was this one moment when like it struck me, where I was learning that, it wasn't Abraham's victory per se, right? Abraham just united with God, but it was the unity of Isaac unifying with his father that really allowed that to be a victory. So really it's Abraham was able to be victorious, and really God was able to be victorious because of Isaac. And yeah, so that was really what was coming up for me right now. As I was thinking of like mother really identifying with Isaac, is kind of what does that mean for the situation that she was in at that time. And yeah, when she was being interviewed by Father, and kind of just gives me more questions into like the context of what the situation was going on. I'm sorry if that's a little bit vague, but that's what was coming up for me. It was just raising a lot of dimensions that maybe I hadn't really thought about before. We kind of just accept the story as for what it is, but I feel like there's more there that mother wants to convey through those Bible stories or Bible situations. And then the other thing that was really just blowing me away, and I really can't, it's like I pray about it and it's like I just can't even identify with this. She talks about how remembering God's blessing to Jacob in Bethel, she happily describes how she wants to have many heavenly children. And in identifying with Isaac, she is filled with no doubt or anything like that, but just this desire, this pure desire to keep moving forward. So like this attitude that mother is kind of identifying with is like so foreign. I think, it's like, it's so foreign for me to even imagine being in such a situation and being happy, being able to say happy or, yeah. So it's like, anyway, it's just, there's a lot going on. I think there's so much depth to this passage, and it really makes me think of like, yeah, how much more there is in mother's heart, and also mother's situation, and in God's situation, that really is just needs to be brought into the light. So yeah, I'll just leave it there.
Wow. Thank you, Grace. That was some pretty deep insights there. I mean, especially your first point here about comparing Isaac having taken responsibility for the failures of his father, and what does that mean for true mother? What was mother having to take responsibility for that we don't really understand, that we've never really understood. Wow, thank you. Okay, so we're next going to hear from our former Subregion 3 coordinator, but always Woman of the Heart and Women's Federation leader, Sahara, who's going to share her reflections with us. Go ahead, Sahara.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm just, the story of the Bible has always touched my heart. The heartfelt between the father and son, and the connection there is between the two, the love for one another, that, such obedience that it's just, left out in the open, that the son is sacrificed, and he knows this as the dad, and the son as well, so obediently fulfills and just succumbs to that decision without any arguing or without any battling. Or that story has always touched my heart as a parent and as a child, how much connection there was between the two. And that just tells you the heart they both carried. One is the son and one is the father, and such role models for us to unite and with our children. And now, True Mother is telling us that, and that's what I'm understanding. Unite with your children, unite with, your parents. She's given us this example, I think, of unity between the parental role and the child's role. And she is giving us this example to us to be reminded that is what we're supposed to be doing here. Uniting with our Heavenly Parents as His children, and uniting with True Mother as His true children, as her true children, and uniting within our household as the parental. Each have children at home, those of us that are parents, and that unity between the hearts of a parent and hearts of a child, I believe, is pretty much the homework we're given here for us to really, really come and connect with our children. And she's given us this example, and not just from right now that our only begotten daughter is here, but it's something that we have had an example like Abraham and Isaac from way back, generations ago. So yeah, this story, like I said, has always really given me so much deep an understanding of the parental and the child unison. And I'm really just grateful that True Mother is reminding us again and more. Thank you so much. That's what's on my heart tonight.
Thank you, Sahara. Yeah, I know Sahara has such a soft spot in her heart also for, the children of families and the next generation. And I know you're also fresh from Kogape, pretty fresh, right? So you have heard the stories and the experiences of these teenagers and the importance of the family, the parents and children. So thank you, Sahara. Okay, we're going to switch to our prayer time now, and I will put the prayer points on the screen, but feel free, these are just, points to think about, but you can just pray about whatever's on your heart. Sahara, if you can give the first prayer, and then Grace, when she's finished, you can begin your prayer, and then we'll do our 4-minute unison prayer. So Sahara, whenever you're ready, go ahead and offer your prayer.
Thank you. Please join me in prayer. Good evening. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity here to come together and complete this third day of our tradition that we're uniting here with our President Kaylee and her husband during this time. We're so grateful to be able to be part of this extended family that our mother has built for us, and our true Father has extended this connection throughout the world. Heavenly Parents, we really want to pray for the unity for all our second generation, third generation, fourth generation, the ongoing generations that we are establishing during this time. As our true mother guide us, we really want to understand her heart and really want to connect and allow her to really see that we truly do love her, really truly do acknowledge all the sacrifice she's given for our human kind. We're so grateful to be able to really unite with her during this time of so many challenges, Heavenly Parents. She's still the true woman of peace during our era, and we understand it. And she's doing it just out of love for our Heavenly Parents, out of love for the world, out of love for the children here. She truly is showing us the motherly love for all of us here to really, understand her and to really connect with her heart. She's truly speaking to us through her heart, through her experiences. We pray for all the victories that are to come in this 2023, especially for the unity between North and South Korea, Heavenly Parents. There's so many challenges still, so many broken hearts in that nation, especially true mother and true father's broken hearts. And so many more that are still children that are still suffering for the separation between the two Koreas. And we know how much it means for our Heavenly Parents. We know how much it means to the world. We just want to continue to pray for that unison and really, for it to really come during the time that our true mother is still here. You want to offer this in all of our names.
Good evening, Heavenly Parent, true parents. Thank you so much for, thank you so much for this time to be here together with our brothers and sisters on this call. We're just so grateful, Heavenly Parent, to be able to have these opportunities to gather together and to hear from one another and to be inspired by one another and be inspired by the Spirit that you infuse into each one of us, Heavenly Parent. So I really pray that during this time and each and every day during this condition that and beyond, that each one of us can sincerely search for your heart, Heavenly Parent, that we can really sincerely search for Mother's heart and really put away our own concepts, our own assumptions about what the reality is, and really just go back to that heart of a child, go back to that heart of being true parents' children, being your children, Heavenly Parent, and asking you, what is it that we're missing? What is it that we need to understand in order to move forward, Heavenly Parent? And I pray, Heavenly Parent, that as we do that, as we sincerely open our hearts and cleanse ourselves from our own concepts, that through that we can also inherit this heart that Mother is conveying through these words, this heart of just complete selflessness, this heart to be able to just take action and just trust that you're here, that you're here to guide us, that everything will work the way it needs to be if we can just move, if we can just unite our mind and our body, centered on you, centered on our true parents. So I just pray that we can really find that freedom in ourselves through this time period, and that we can start finding the freedom and the joy in taking action as well. And we really also just, as Women's Federation, Heavenly Parent, we know that Mother needs women, Mother needs men, Mother needs her children. And I really pray that through this effort, through this condition, and through whatever intentions each of us are making during this time, that we can really be able to feel that we are the arms and legs of our true mother, that we really can feel sure that we are acting in accordance with a filial child, and that we can be able to proudly say to you, proudly think, Heavenly Parent, that yeah, I'm being Mother's child at this time, and really be able to give Mother that confidence on every level, both substantially and also spiritually, Heavenly Parent. Yeah, because we know that through this we can have momentum both substantially, but also that this can be the momentum to drive change that is needed all throughout the world, in Korea, in America, and all over the world, to really restore and bring this world back to you, Heavenly Parent. So I just offer this up in all of our names, and in my name, Misin Bangju Kisile Basancho Couple Aju.
Thank you. We'll do our 4-minute unison prayer, and I encourage you to unmute yourself and go ahead and offer your prayer at this time.
Weather movement, any connection, mother's side. Parent, our true mother needs us every our circumstances, our church leaders,
We spend time to
organizations,
inherit
work is a
in your own
Women's
words.
Federation for all
I'm sorry that it's so long
National Association of
beginning to wake up
all
and recognize true mother.
help us
All women are the
to our
extension of true mother
that we
and
are
should act accordingly.
leaders.
Instead, women, years have destroyed women.
We're just
Many women have
to
true
help us
mother.
for us how we can
Reason
that personal
why
responsibility upon our independence.
being
All travel
true to her,
messiahs, ambassadors worldwide, from every
not giving her the right
to our mother's side at this particular time.
heart.
Our personal
We want to change all that ourselves.
guide and shower your words, your love and embrace.
Realize in this age of
Those who are witnessing
women mothers
and strengthen them, fuel them in all that
houses
you are listening. Also,
that really bring about a world with
work in
peace and harmony.
Trinities
There's so much to do.
to help parents
This time we truly thank you for Elaine and her
to know
WFP leaders that
to
study
restore
of
one to
true
the world.
mothers. It's not just the story.
Only for the
It's really that
especially work
should
is
be one in heart with our true mother.
all
The
that
prayer points we
we pray for
declare, we pray for
work is the national guide and shower your
true
mercy,
mother's
love and your blessing.
and for our personal
Independence,
aspirations.
for will and exact
Devotion and conversion times.
no
It's a
help.
WSWP for its role
This is
in
the
this
world
month.
salvation. Yeah,
Very points. We have to really open ourselves and be prepared
using
for the
women around the
whatever
world.
it is that we do.
No,
More than anything else tonight,
many parents,
this reading
women more and more important.
signs true mother was
Mothers of the
completely
families
open to
and their
whatever you would
men,
guide her to do.
leaders of the world who are going
You
to
guided her to truth
the
and
world
living,
to know
even
people
though
love.
he was much older.
The job of teacher
She had
terminated the work for so
no
long.
misconceptions about that. She completely trusted you. This is what
God
it
and heaven
means
upon a
when
mother
they
to
completely trusted
send
the
them
Father. Completely
forth
trusted you. Pray that WFWP leaders
upon our heavenly parent.
help to completely trust our true mother
A shower of
and really put ourselves in a position to receive her direction and footsteps accordingly and not to force it in any way.
one of us.
on a new level.
Just to accomplish things and reach numbers. But to completely trust our true mother when she makes decisions, when she makes plans, advance the work in America and around the world. Hear our prayers. Please help our sisters to do well. Please help us to open our hearts to really love not to love when we can do it, but to love even when we when it's inconvenient to us, when it distracts us and distorts us. Even
Got you. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for your beautiful prayers and devotion tonight. I just wanted to share that, what was coming up in my prayers, the second prayer point of our prayer condition is about, praying over our own personal activation in terms of devotion and outreach, which is what True Mother's really asking of us at this time. And so I hope that this kind of internal condition we do can be the impetus for this kind of outreach, knowing that heaven is preparing opportunities for us to be able to bring people closer to our Heavenly Parent and our True Mother at this time. So please keep praying over that. And I'm looking forward to being able to share your good news and your good reports and results with True Mother about our response to her heart at this time. So thank you very much, everybody. I love you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.